What?
1746, James Patrick Howlett, he came from Wexford, Ireland. Started fishing here. It's Eddie Howlett did the family tree. He's passed away now, Eddie has, but he put a headstone up in the graveyard there, James Patrick, and he had 3 sons, and that's where, he told me that's where all the Howletts came from in Newfoundland. Like, they spread out to the Goulds and other parts of the island, but they all came from Petty Harbour, 1746. Fishing ever since. Yeah, my father fished, yeah. He's passed on now, but he fished, and my grandfather. Yeah. My mother's family fished too. They were Wittens, so they all fished. And then my grandmother, she was a Kiley. They all fished. And all my grandparents fished before them, so. My family handline mostly, so when we finished in December, we didn't have much gear back in the year when I was younger. So we started fishing early in May, though. We had to get our boats ready and then start fishing in May. In the early 80s, processors started getting into purchasing capelin. And the fishermen here weren't at capelin, they were at codfish. The Fishermen's Committee has always been strong here. Like, you know, over that winter, over the couple of winters, guys were talking about, like, you know, we should start something that we can look after our own affairs. So they looked at a number of different options, and the decision was to form a co-op. Yeah, I've been involved in the co-op since it started, really, in 1984. I've been president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, so I've been at all the positions, but I'm treasurer now. So.
Tom Best, he was the lead, the key organizer and all that, right? And we started with the co-op. We were able to sell more or less regularly, right? Fish to our own plants and process it ourselves and market it. So it gave us a great advantage, you know. We were more or less in control of our own destiny, right? Yeah.
Petty Harbour always had a name of a good place to catch fish, right? And the reason was because all them pieces of ground that they're on were baited up. Everybody cut up their bait and threw out their bait and stuff like that, right? And they went to the same place every day. Every boat went to the same place every day. So they go there fishing all day. They have probably 150 pounds of squid, cutting up, hooking it on, cutting up, hooking it on. At the end of the day, all the scrap, the bait left over, dump it right out. So the next day, then you went there, the fish were waiting for more food to come down. Yeah, so you're baiting up the ground. That's what made it so good here, right? I started fishing when I was 16 or 17, I think. About 17, with my father. The summer that I started, I had a job on a farm, and I had a job in the fish plant. 2. I had one up in Whittlers Bay, and I had another one in National Sea in St. John's. And I quit the 2 of them, and I quit on the farm, and I started going fishing. I said to my dad, I said, I want to go fishing. Anyhow, went out fishing the next morning, 4 o'clock, got up, and then, of course, I got seasick. And I'm like, and the water was rough. It was no wind, but like a big fucking swell, like a huge swell, right? Like one of the worst times I was ever out there. Really, if he had to bring me in and drop me off and then turn around and go again, he would lose getting in the spot that he wanted to get in. Yeah, once you're out there, that was getting to the piece of ground that you want to get on was crucial, right? Tinkers, the horse rocks, the flat iron, the white rock, the bag of bread, the mutt, the bow, the little Hanover, big Hanover, right? Sell them, because you didn't own it. You didn't own a piece of ground. Everybody knew what you were to, right? And if somebody caught fish there one day, the next day, like, you know, rumors, they'd hear geez, they got a lot of fish on Tinkers yesterday. So next morning, there'd be more boats on Tinkers. Oh God, we used to go out to the cod traps at like 10, 11 years old. We were cutting out the cod tongues, and everybody played your part. And you were down underneath the table cutting out the tongues, say, like the table Wally made, or like this one. and he'd be down there, and they'd be heading the fish, right? And if it's a big head, fellas would be reaching and grab the head, right? Because it's the big ones, eh? Right? And yeah, but most of them, the heads were like piled up on the floor. You couldn't keep ahead of it. Your knife would get gappy, and you pass it up to your father and say, "Dad, can you sharpen my knife?" No problem. You give it a rub on stone, sharpen up, and be like the fucking razor, full of gurry, like covered in it, right? Under the table, and it was in your hair, and he had no oil paints, none of that stuff. He used to go to the Gould selling cantons, right? And he made that up. He made up that card himself. And he had the dogs hooked up to it, and he'd go right to the Gould, and he had them full. So he had to go to the Gould to sell them. He couldn't sell no cantons here, right? And what he couldn't sell, he'd come back and he'd stop up there on the bridge and dump them over the bridge. Because like, there was no fridges and anything like that, so he just had like thousands of cantons, right?
Got away. Almost. What he did? Hey, boy. I wasn't born into a fishing family. No. My father used to fish when he was a young man, right? In grade school. But he gave it up in the 1930s. The times were pretty hard back then. Started from there, right? So doing it most of my adult life. The traditional fishery in Petty Harbour was hand line for cod. So when the gill nets were introduced, some guys started using gill nets. But then, right, there was a gear conflict. That's how it started. And the way it was resolved was the majority of the fishermen wanted to continue with the traditional handline fishery. So they all got together and agreed to not use gill nets and to ask government to put a regulation in place. So there is a regulation in the fishery regulations. It was gazetted in the fishery regulations. You can Roger, Burner, grab hold of that. Get that down on the floor. Well, the call of fishery down July the 2nd, 1992. Basically, that was our main. We weren't diversified in that crab. Like Bernard just mentioned, you didn't want to see it coming, but it was all out of work basically. We fished a few lobsters and a few things, but 90% of our income was gone. There was a lot of breakups. A lot of people stood up like no income, a lot of family issues. How real estate was worth nothing. Roll it around in your mouth. Fuck your hand.
I fished for 37 years.
Okay.
And then the skipper retired. But I knew how to do all this before.
Yeah.
So it was just natural progress. Like when I didn't have a boat, I just came to the bank because I was good at this. Yeah. Same skills, same thing. Well, You can't just take them out the street and work in the plant. Like I worked off and on in the plant when I was a fisherman, but Jamie needed my skills. I can split too, right? When I was working in the plant at Sawfish Corporation up here at Roger Biglets, that's where you're going, right? He had a plant down here with Sawfish.
Yeah.
I used to take their fisherman split knife, right, when you go on break and caught a few fish.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he get right pissed off at me because he knew I blunted it up, right?
Yeah.
But that's how I learned.
Big Woods, they had a plant there across the harbour there. O'Brien's had a plant, and in 1977, the plant Peerless that was established. So there was 4 fish plants here. That's pretty unique for one fishing community. Yeah, Roger, he started that plant. I don't know what year, but it was before I came along. He started that plant, and he had a store over there, just over across the way, and he had a fish plant where the park is to now. Yeah, Roger was very strict. With everything, they wouldn't buy off everyone. Like they had 3 or 4 boats usually they bought fish off. And they used to have a sign there. Please pew fish in the head. They didn't want no fish pewed in the stomach or in the back, no punctures, just in the head.
Now, see this fish now? Now that bone got to stay in it. And if it's a good splitter, you see the figure 8 in it. Yeah. See it there? Yeah. You go in here. Now the blood will come out, see it? Now he's ready to start. Now I'll show you how you have to start it now. Oh, I love it. I'd rather be at this than anything. Right here, you gotta make sure it's down the center of your fish. That's how I dry it. I'll take out the fish today now and I'll leave it overnight, then I'll put it in here. It draws much faster because it's not so wet, the pickle is drained out, right? Yeah, that's how I draw it, yeah. If you get a couple of good days with a western wind or a draw in no time, depends on the wind and the temperature, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But fish drawed outside, that's much better than fish drawed inside.
So a dog boy was a big stick of wood, not a big, 3 or 4 feet long, and it was chipped on both ends. And then they drilled a hole in it, in each end. And one end was tied onto the anchor in your, that went out for the cod traps. The dog boy itself, that float up, keep the rope off the bottom, what you needed, so it wouldn't bust off, right? The dogs would be up over on the hill over behind your house, my house and that. And in the night time there was, geez, had to be 200 dogs, yes, easy, when I was growing up. Probably, definitely 200. And Dad and them used to tie on the dogs so they wouldn't be roaming everywhere. So they tie on one of these big dog boys, they were like 30, 40 pounds. Dogs had, real hot summer days, and the dogs would lie down instead of stringing that around. But in the night time, if a female was out, got loose or something, and get up on the hill, the dogs would run up over the hill with that behind them like nothing. Next thing, 7 or 8 of them be all tangled up. And so he said, they go up then and You try to untangle them like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? They start on one end of the harbour, either this end or down the harbour, and they start. They with the old barracks. They all had different barracks, right, different sound, and they go right around the harbour, right up the road, right on down this side. Then you stop, then you go right back around the harbour again. There was a dog down on the other side of the harbour, and he was howling, real lonely howl. He'd be going like that all night long. And I said to Kim, she said, "What? The dog is something wrong?" And I said, "No, nothing wrong with the dog." I said, "Somebody dying." And she said, "How do you know that?" I said, "Because the dog just to howl like that. Just one dog, not other dog bark or nothing, right? And sure enough, the next morning be someone dead. Not another dog barking, right? Any other time they'd be all barking. You know what I mean? You hear them all over the harbour. It's funny, you know.